There are 51 dungeons in Elden Ring, and if I'm being honest with you, most of them are not that good. Many times the focus is on the enemies and hardly on any form of puzzle, which creates a familiar feeling of repetition. After a while, dungeons have the same feeling to them that booting up Destiny 2 has, and that is not a good thing. This became especially apparent when I was watching Breath of the Wild and saw how varied the shrines are. Seriously, try giving every dungeon in Elden Ring a moderately unique one-sentence name that describes them and tell me how that goes. But in Elden Ring's defense, there are a handful of outliers, and those are outstanding experiences. One dungeon like that is the PT dungeon, a dungeon with a twist so unique that you will have definitely chuckled when you found the solution. Or maybe you didn't, and that's why you're here, in which case, I envy you. And if you're wondering where that weird name is coming from, well, it is based on a horror game demo from 2014 that is now impossible to get your hands on. Are you intrigued? A bit ago I made a video on the Vape Chest dungeon, and a lot of people pointed out that they had similar experiences with the so-called PT dungeon, which reminded me of the few times my brain activated in an Elden Ring dungeon and went, hold on, I have to think. And so I went and replayed it, my first time since I did my 100% run back in March, which meant my memory was very limited. I knew there was a hook to it somewhere, but it took me a while to even remember what the dungeon looked like, so it was gonna take me a bit. I guess I'm called Leviathan for a reason though, huh? Get it? Cause hook and fish. Please don't stop watching. The first and potentially worst horror that awaited me was actually outside of the dungeon. If you have ever been down here in the sewers, you know exactly what I'm referring to. Giant shrimps. Or giant lobsters. I don't know, I'm a user. But anyway, why the fuck are they down here? I'm not kidding, they are harder than anything else in the game, so naturally I firefighted my way out as a YouTuber would do. Very carefully. Oh god, does he know I'm here? Oh no. Oh no! After that, I made it to the dungeon and the madness began. Aside from being spit on by two different people the moment I entered, just like in high school, it did actually look pretty relaxing. A room with some pretty harmless zombies that are about as smart as the ones in Walking Dead, a single omen which was actually kinda tough to take down, and then a flame pillar, followed by a drop back into the first room. Cool, so far so good. After falling I noticed the bodies of the enemies I killed before, but where the omen was before I now encountered a second omen. This confused me. Why and how would they have spawned a new one? But to my surprise, the second one was way stronger and easily turned me into cereal. Little did I know that that slip up right there would unfortunately ruin the immersion, because this time on my walk back I did not kill all of the zombies, but the bodies were still there on the second loop as if I did. That's when I remembered the gimmick of this dungeon. It repeats with very slight changes every loop, and FromSoft actually put the corpses of the enemies in the second loop, which is both brilliant but also risky, as seen by my experience. It is brilliant because it makes it seem like the second loop is really just the first one, but with a new enemy, even if the corpse locations don't exactly line up. It is equally risky though, because... Why am I explaining this? It's obvious. But as for creating an illusion, it's a 10 out of 10. So now that the game was up, it was all about finding a way out of this maze. Once I made it past the second omen, I got into the next one. Next loop, not next omen. Here everything seemed pretty similar except for the flame pillar being gone. Upon checking out why it was gone, I was jumped by another omen. Thanks, Miyazaki. Walking back the entire way yet again and defeating the third omen, I then jumped back down and repeated the loop. What was weird this time was the fact that nothing seems to have changed, except finding some weird button in this room. You should try it out sometime. Was I going insane? Something must have changed, right? Where is it? But no. There was nothing new, the third loop is the final one, and after many more loops I realized that and backtracked into the second one. When I made it past the flame pillar, I tried jumping onto it. What can go wrong? Well, nothing actually, because that was the solution. Up here was the path back to loop 1 in the lever. All I had to do now was activate it and I fell. All I had to do now was activate it, fight the boss, and I would be free of this nightmare. Yeah, it was this one. Swarm of flies, bleed built, giant head looking dog whisperer made me want to go back to over-editing unfunny meme videos. At first I tried brute forcing, which really didn't work. I had no idea how to avoid swarm of flies from sticking onto me because I'm trash at PvP, so I thought of a counter. You might not have known this before, but you can use carrion retaliation on swarm of flies, and it does absolutely nothing. But what does work is the beast repellent torch. With that I could one-on-one the mage. I decided to give him his own medicine and used Reduvia myself, making quick work of him once he stopped backing out of my attacks. The dogs somehow vanished and I was awarded with an actually useful talisman instead of ashes or plants, which is a very pleasant surprise for Elden Ring standard. So all in all, it was very fun. The dungeon is great, makes me wish PT would have been a thing even more than I already wanted it, and I love the fact that a reference to PT will forever be in this game and now on my channel. Will we ever get a full PT game? Who knows, but a man can dream. If you enjoyed the video and want some more, then right here is another one about an equally interesting dungeon.